Welcome to West Country Wanderings and welcome to one of my Devon series. Today we're in East Devon, here at the town of Honiton. But we're not doing a video from Honiton today. I've caught the train here, South Western Railway, out from Exeter St David's on the line to London Waterloo. Excuse the gulls overhead, that gives us an indication of where we're heading today. I'm going to be waiting for a bus which is going to take us on to the coastal resort town of Sidmouth. So I hope you can join me again here on West Country Wanderings for a coastal adventure. Look around Sidmouth and have a look around some of the Jurassic coast, beautiful Jurassic coast around the town. Keep watching and show you some interest around here in East Devon. While I'm waiting for my bus though, it tells you about the town here of Honiton, which is famous for its lace. So we're here at railway station, which is quite close to the town centre, to Lace Walk, just along New Street, takes you into the High Street. And it was granted a market charter in 1257, and it still holds regular street markets today. Also information about the East Devon line here. Services provided by South Western Railway, but also there are occasional ones from GWR as well. Station here at Honiton is actually quite an attractive station. It's a fairly new building. There is a buffet here with toilets and a ticket office as well. So here we are in a very sunny Sidmouth. It was a very busy bus though, I think because the weather is forecast to be very nice today, as you can see, and get up to warm. So I'm not so keen on the warm thing. I think we're going to get up to about 22, maybe 23. So I'll probably be seeking some shade. But as you can see, it's a very popular resort here in East Devon. We're actually not far from where I was last here in East Devon, at Budley Sauntering. If you remember, I did a walk up there on the southwest coast path, and I'd said I'd come back here to this area again. So here we are. We're going to make our way on now to Jacob's Ladder Beach and then up to the gardens at the top. I'll tell you a little bit about the town's history as well, before we have a much bigger wander around the town onto the cliffs on the other side at Salcombe Regis. So we're currently on the Clifton Walkway, which was constructed in 1999 as one of Sidmouth's many Millennium projects. So we're going to go along this way, and there should be Jacob's Ladder at the other side of the cliffs there. One of the things it's not advisable to do here is to actually swim between the two rock islands there because of the strong tidal currents. Probably not so much of it today, but they can certainly change as the tide changes and catch swimmers unaware. So we're now looking back towards the town centre and the famous Jurassic coast. We'll be heading up that way towards the top over at Salcombe Regis later. You can see here this cliff has been shored up with additions of cement and additional pebbles over the years, because of where to keep the footpath open. See here, it's very soft red sandstone, and people have carved their names in it. One here dated 1958. Part of the beach down here is covered with rock pools, which is great for exploration, of course. Wow, it's an amazing view. So we're about 3/4 of a mile walk from the town centre now. It's where the bus dropped me off. Stagecoach bus service number 9, I think it is, which run every hour or so. And there, going straight up, is the famous Jacob's Ladder here in Sidmouth. Well, it doesn't seem to be many takers for going up the Jacob's Ladder, but let's give it a go. Now, as you can see, the steps are really, really narrow, and it's probably advisable to hang on to the rail, which is I'm going to be doing, so I won't be able to film myself going up there, but I'll see you at the top. Looks like there's banks of white bluebells here, but we're going to go through this little door here, which will take us into the gardens. So this here is known as the Clock Tower, and it's actually got a cafe underneath it. Lots of people sitting outside at the moment. I've just noticed a blue plaque through there, so let's just go and have a look at that. So according to the blue plaque there, Historic Sidmouth and the Sid Vale Association, it was a pseudo castle, rather it is a pseudo castle, built in the 19th century as a boathouse for Cliff Cottage, which is nearby, and boats were lifted up and lowered down using davits. I'll put in a little photo of what a davit looks like. Previously there was an 18th century lime kiln, yes, I can imagine that. It kind of takes that shape that a lime kiln has. And the stone was shipped to the beach and brought up by donkeys using a path cut into. So here's the gardens, tea rooms inside, or at the top of Jacob's Ladder here, by the clock tower. I'm just going to grab a cup of tea here myself before we continue our wanders here in Sidmouth. So I'll see you in a bit. Well, welcome back. I'm now in Connaught Gardens, which is next to the Clock Tower Cafe, just come through a little arch. This bit here is closed off. Now, the history of Sidmouth, in fact, starts off with the village of Sidbury, and the clue is in the name Sid, River Sid. That's where it gets its root from. We came through there on the bus earlier, and the church there has a crypt which dates back to the 7th century. Although the two settlements, Sidmouth here, which is now the larger of the two, and the combined Salcombe Regis and Sidbury, ended up being gifted to different places. The latter, Sidbury, if you follow me, was actually gifted from Exeter Cathedral by King Athelstan. But here, Sidmouth, it was gifted by a lady I can't even possibly try and pronounce. I'll put it in below because it sounds like it has origins from Iceland, I'm not sure. And that was gifted not to somewhere here in Devon, but somewhere on the other side of the English Channel at Mont Saint-Michel, which is like an identikit replica of St Michael's Mount a little bit further to the southwest in Cornwall. So this part of the garden here is like a sunken Italianate section there. It really is quite beautiful. And you have lots of bits where there's shade as well. So on a warm day like today, it's great to come in and tuck yourself in from the midday sun. I didn't realise actually that the Clock Tower Cafe actually has a chiming clock on the top of it. I'm not sure if the audio is going to come out very well. I'll try and insert it now. It's delicately quiet in this part of the garden, and I like this seat over here, which is in like a little alcove with shells around it. Let's have a closer look at that. Well, it's not actually shells, but it's pieces, what looks like flint. I thought originally it might have been pebbles. So that's quite unusual to have flint here in East Devon. Looks like it may have been imported from nearby Dorset. Well, I think it's going to be really hot going in here. We have this greenhouse here which is full of cacti. It's going to glare on the glass there, but give you a sense of it there. So we've got cacti on that side. And on the left-hand side here, we have all the winning plaques from Sidmouth, because it's won Britain in Bloom for many, many years. I think the earliest date going back to 1975. It was indeed also an international winner for the Honiton Floreal. Well, what we're going to do now is walk back down Jacob's Ladder. There is a roadway if you don't like the narrow steps. We're going to down Jacob's Ladder and then make our way into the town centre. So here we've got the Bedford Hotel, and I don't know if that's got connections to the Bedford Hotel, which is in another part of Devon, in Tavistock on the edge of Dartmoor, because of the Duke of Bedford. It may well do. I've just noticed there's a blue plaque on it, so let's just go and have a closer look at that. On here it doesn't actually say. It says about Wallace's Marine Library, a centrepiece of a first edition of Sidmouth's long print, which was extended before 1818, and it had a canopied Lockyer. See if I can find an old photograph of that. It was a popular venue looking out to sea. I can imagine that it would be. It offered a billiard room as well as books. The Barrett room, well, the Barrett family were running it as a hotel by 1833, and a subscription reading room. And here we have another splendid hotel, the Hotel Riviera. Now, Sidmouth was actually a fashionable resort long before the railway arrived in the 19th century. In the 18th century, it was attracting the wealthier and well-heeled clientele. Yes, it did have a railway station once, but unfortunately the railway station was sited about a mile outside the town, and therefore it wasn't that popular. So you're not short of places to eat and drink here. So we've got a kiosk there called Capes, a mocha beachside cafe and restaurant, and then we got Marshfield ice cream, yes, from the Cotswolds here. Ice cream paradise. So we're going to head into the town centre just for a short bit and then make our way back to the promenade and up towards Salcombe Regis. It's good to see everybody enjoying themselves on this mid-April day, beautiful day. It is actually forecast to rain tomorrow, so we've had a run of about 10 days of stunning springtime sunshine, but of course all good things have to come to an end. It's been great for getting out filming as well around the West Country. I don't normally highlight retail outlets on the channel, but this one is noteworthy. It's an independent department store called Fields. It's been here for a number of years, and with so many department stores, I think Jolly's closed in Bath, although that may be reopening again. Cavendish House in Cheltenham, of course the House of Fraser chain in Debenhams all went. So it's good to see that here in wonderful little Sidmouth in East Devon still has a department store going. Now, if you're interested in my photography series here on West Country Wanderings, you may be interested in this. It's Sidmouth School of Arts Museum of Antiquities. Yes, it is indeed in a tiny little telephone box. The project takes inspiration from the Thamesmead Codex by Bob, even under Roberta Smith, exploring a range of techniques including digital printing, typography, photography and experimental printing using jelly plates. That's amazing to see that, and it's good to have art in public spaces, I always think. Sidmouth is not short of its local events coming up. Got coffee, tea and cake sale for Easter Good Friday. Western House is open Saturday the 12th of April. Concert with Rossini. Poetry. Car boots. Much going on here. One thing that Sidmouth is famous for many, many years is its folk festival. I'm not sure when that's taking place this year. It also has a Seafest 2025, and that's on Saturday the 17th of May. And if I can, I'll link to some of those in the description of today's video if you want to visit the town during an event. Another attraction here in Sidmouth is the Sidmouth Toy and Model Museum. See if I can link to the website of that to see the dates on that one as well. So this is Old Fore Street, one of the original streets here in Sidmouth before tourism took over. So obviously we've got the Sidmouth gift shop there, and a bit further on down there the National Trust shop next to a bagel shop. That was good to see an independent toy shop here. This one is called Gliddon's. So this location has taken us back round to where the bus dropped me off, which was there, somewhere over there. And we're going to go this way. This is actually Sidmouth's museum here. It's looked after, I think it's called the Sid Vale Association, past, present and future. But we're going to go on this way round to Connaught Gardens. A building over there, which is a remnant of a castle. Beautiful landscape here because we're on the edge of the East Devon area of outstanding natural beauty. And this here is Sidmouth Bowling Club. I've just spotted this here, which answers my previous question about the folk festival. They've applied for a licence for the gardens here, which is Blackmore Coronation Gardens, from the 1st to the 8th of August. So that is when the Sidmouth Folk Festival is going to be this year. Beautiful gardens. Actually more colour in these than the ones we saw at Connaught above the cliffs, I feel. Got camellias still out in flower. That's very late for this time of the year. Well, this is a lovely tranquil corner. Just 5 minutes walk from the very bustling town centre and a promenade here. So here we are back on the sunny promenade, back here in Sidmouth and East Devon again. Still lots of people out enjoying themselves. It's good to see renovations of these balconies, these Regency balconies here, which are very, very attractive, and I think they're just doing renovations post-winter time, so to get them ready for the summer peak, because with them being so exposed to the salt water there, they tend to have a lot of erosion. Another building that's undergoing a lot of restoration and maintenance at the moment is the RNLI Lifeboat, which actually isn't an RNLI lifeboat, it's Sidmouth Lifeboat, because it's an independent one, it's separate from the RNLI itself, so they run it as an independent charity here. There is a long historical reason for that, and I'll drop a link into the Sidmouth Lifeboat's website in the description of today's video, because it's quite fascinating to see, but it's here, just right here behind me. And it has a shop there, so you can actually go over there and support said shop, which is really good. And obviously it's such an important facility here to have in a town, which is its links to the sea. And so this is where the River Sid makes an appearance here in Sidmouth. And as I say, you can follow it along the river most of the way, all the way to the village. Now, earlier in the video I mentioned about the arrival of the railway here, which is one of the branches of the East Devon Railway. It came off at Tipton St John. In fact, I've done a lost railway walk in this area. Recently I visited Budleigh Salterton, but about a year or so before that I did a walk from Budleigh Salterton to Exmouth following the old railway line. And it was kind of off that. It's quite a complicated setup, but it was linked to that part of the East Devon Railway network. But there was an earlier railway here, and amazingly it ran along here. It opened in 1830, and it was to do with the setup of Sidmouth's harbour. Unfortunately, the whole thing was a disaster. It came along through, there was a tunnel through the cliffs somewhere along here, and it does say it is still in existence, although the exact location of it I'm uncertain. And it went into the town there, along the promenade where all the people are, all the tourists. But it collapsed, or there was a partial collapse due to a storm, and the whole thing was just not a viable enterprise, financial enterprise. So Sidmouth's harbour never got built, and the railway, I would think, closed less than a year later for its original purpose, but it was used for a short period of time as a tourist attraction, and now there's very little of it remaining. Now, there was originally a simple wooden bridge here, one of the burgeoning tourists wanting to explore further into the hinterland, and that was put in 1855, and it was called Alma Bridge. Why Alma Bridge? Well, it was named after the famous battle in the Crimean War, and it cost just £26 and 10 shillings to erect. It was the Sid Vale Association was given permission by the wife of the Lord of the Manor of Salcombe Regis. The bridge had to be repaired in 1877 as it got lots of damage through storms, and then in 1900 there was a new bridge which was replaced. After 118 years of service, strengthening repairs including a complete deck, it was found that this bridge too, the second bridge, that was also beyond repair, and this bridge you see here was built in 2020. So we're now going to join the southwest coast path on crossing the bridge here over the River Sid. The river is quite an attractive element of the town as it winds its way through the urban area and down to the sea. So I've come round to, well, yes, you can see it there, Salcombe Hill, which is a National Trust piece of land above the town of Salcombe. One quick word of warning though, the southwest coast path as it rises up there from the River Sid does a little bit of a loop around some houses because there's been a number of rockfalls close to, well, where I showed you when I was talking about the Salcombe Harbour Railway. You could actually see there have been some rockfalls there. So the footpath comes a little bit more inland. But now we've got some land to ourselves as we'll continue on through here, through Salcombe Hill. Nothing to do with Salcombe in the South Hams though. I can't think of any connection between those two. That's a very different place, but one I'm very familiar with because I used to live at South Milton near there. But I digress. We're going to follow up here. This is also known as the Sid Valley Ring, as in the River Sid. So we're going to actually do a complete loop around and going back into the town following the river. As we climb Salcombe Hill, you can see the town of Sidmouth falling away there. Bit of sea mist today because of the heat. I think it's about 23 now. There is a seat at the top of this hill, so I think I'm going to take advantage of that and have some water because it is quite a steep climb. And that's where we were earlier in the video, at the top of Jacob's Ladder. It is rather incredible. You've got to have all those people down there in the town of Sidmouth. Nice that it is. But in terms of walkers coming up to Salcombe Hill, no takers at all. Well, they're missing out on some brilliant views. Well, I think you'd be hard pushed to get views better than that one here in East Devon. Just seen a kestrel go over there. There's lots of hawthorn out here in flower on this side. And we're just about to be entering into a wood. Well, I don't mind admitting I'm feeling quite warm at the moment, but to compensate I've got this amazing view in front of me, so I'm just going to have a bit of water before we continue our walk into the wood behind me, and then we'll be heading down the other side into the valley of the River Sid, but we won't have time to go over to Sidbury, but we will be skirting around the valley, and I think there's a little park there. Now, something I forgot to mention, although the keen-eyed amongst you will have definitely spotted it, was we did a walk from Budley Sauntering here in East Devon about 5 weeks ago, I think it was now, and we walked to Ladram Bay. In fact, you can see the rock stacks there, the red sandstone stacks in the sea there at Ladram, which is where we walked to on that walk, which is accessible from a bus from Exmouth. So once you've made that steep climb, you're rewarded by this beautiful woodland filled with both birdsong and bluebells. I think most of them have yet to come out, but this, over the next couple of weeks, will just be a mass of blue. Nice picnic table here, which is great, at the top of a hill. So we've climbed up about 175 metres now to what is known as Salcombe Hill. and round the side there is Salcombe Mouth, but unfortunately the coast path is closed due to erosion. There is another path that is a little bit more inland, but I don't think we're going to get any great views of the sea from that one. So what I'm going to do now is turn back, head back towards the town, following along the River Sid. Now, the other thing to mention here is the Lockyer Observatory, which is an astronomical observatory at the top here of Salcombe Hill. It's actually a public access one. It's open on certain afternoons and weekends, and again I'll see if I can link to a website to give you more details about it. It came about because of a gentleman called, yes you guessed it, Norman Lockyer, who was formerly the director of another observatory in South Kensington in London. When it closed and he retired here of course to Sidmouth, he decided to open this facility here, and it contains a number of historical astronomical instruments for looking at the night sky, observing all around. It's a great spot for doing that because of the clear skies and the fact there's very, very little light pollution, as it's termed, in this area. Because of it being an AONB, there's no buildings nearby because it's well above the town. Well, I must admit I didn't realise that the observatory was so close to the National Trust car park here. It has its own little car park. I'll show you that in a moment. But it looks like you can just take yourself around on a guided tour. Let's do that now. So welcome to the Lockyer Observatory. It's owned by the East Devon District Council and operated by unpaid volunteers of the Lockyer Observatory Society as an amenity to provide support for science education. So Norman himself was born in 1836, passed away in 1920, and he was a campaigner for science education in Britain and helped in the foundation of the Science Museum in London. He was also a founder of the aforementioned South Kensington Observatory and founder and editor for many, many years of the science journal Nature. And this is the Lockyer 6-inch refracting telescope, built in 1863 and rebuilt in 1871. Incredible piece of scientific history right here in East Devon. And you can see there that it's got a sliding panel which opens up to enable the optics to look out into the night sky. Well, I must admit I hadn't got that reckoned down as being in the content for today's video here from South Devon, not South Devon, East Devon, the observatory. Let's go on down the hill to the River Sid. Well, we've met up with the River Sid again after walking down the road from Salcombe Hill. Didn't quite go into Salcombe Regis. Beautiful here because you have a weir which makes the water go, well, follows a route down into the town centre where of course it joins the sea as you saw earlier. But this is a wonderful little park here. Well, I say little, it's not actually that little, it's quite big with all the trees in there. On a beautiful day, lots of people here enjoying themselves, as I'm going to do just here and have a cup of tea, maybe a biscuit. So this is a really fantastic bit here by the River Sid and all these wonderful trees. In fact, some of the trees are marked, so it does tell you, if you want to go around tree spotting, what they are, what the heritage of them is. So we've got this one, I've just seen a sweet chestnut. This is a really old willow tree here. You can just see it's being propped up there to keep it going. I don't know how old it is. And we have one over here as well. So this is really good that these are marked. So we have here a Carpinus betulus, which is a hornbeam. And over here I think there is a sweet chestnut over by the river. Of course we come across that the other day, didn't we, when we're in South Gloucestershire looking at potentially one of the very oldest trees in the country. And this here is an old toll house called the Byes Toll House. The Byes is also a footpath which was created in the 1850s following that park there by the River Sid. And this is Waterloo Bridge, which was built around 1817. There, that's another view looking at Waterloo Bridge. So this is Sidmouth's famous ford across the River Sid. There is a pedestrian footbridge. You don't have to wade across if you're going across yourself, but it gets closed in times of high flood water. There's big gates over there you can see. We've just got a van going through it now, but yeah, just around here we've got bits and pieces. So it's obviously at the moment, because the water levels are low, it's perfectly safe to drive through it, but obviously you can imagine when the river is in flood, it most definitely isn't. So from here in Blackmore Gardens in the beautiful town of Sidmouth in East Devon, that's it for today here on West Country Wanderings. I hope you enjoyed this tentative explore. There's a lot more to the town, particularly the village of Sidbury, which lies just a couple of miles to the north of it. So perhaps when you come here, you could perhaps walk along the River Sid to that. That's what you want to do. But I hope I've given you a flavour today in this initial exploration of here. I'm hoping to come back to do some more of the southwest coast path in this area, not unlike what we did when we went to Budley Salterton just about a month or so ago now. So yeah, if you like that sort of thing, then please look out for more videos here on West Country Wanderings across the whole of the wider West Country. I live in Gloucestershire, but I cover the whole of the Cotswolds, also Devon, Cornwall, Somerset and Dorset, as well as Herefordshire and Worcestershire and Gloucestershire. So all the areas, and hope to see you on the channel again very, very soon. That's it for today. Take care. Bye-bye.